College-educated women are doing better than ever. Everyone else is suffering, and especially men.
In those 50 short years, women have already surpassed the men in terms of home ownership and property ownership.
And they talk about being a provider, but in certain relationships where they actually earn less, I'll say to them, if we look at the numbers, you're not the provider. So who are you? And they're stumped.
But this new information that I just came across, the picture is 100% clear now. There's no way that men can, or that men should be trying to deny what's going on, because it's so obvious. It's so obvious that men are so frustrated right now with the state of things, but they don't know, or they don't want to acknowledge what the real issue is. Because I've had this conversation 1,000 times, 1,000 different ways with 1,000 men, and they refuse to accept what's happening.
When I was in college in the 2010s, female empowerment and equality in the workplace was genuinely considered one of the most important elite issues of the time. But what has enraged me now for years is the refusal to admit that in an incredibly short period of time, the story has actually flipped completely. College-educated women are doing better than ever. Everyone else is suffering, and especially men. Employment rates for prime-age males between 25 and 54 is actually at a historic low. Young women out-earning young men in almost every major metro area in the US. College-educated women have triumphed in the new economy. Men and non-college educated women are significantly held back. This, by all accounts, is one of the most profound shifts in US employment in all of American history. And yet, it is mostly ignored. The reason why is that most people just don't want to talk about male wages or male loneliness, because they think it validates tropes about toxic masculinity. The longer and more that this is ignored by the top leaders, the worse that the crisis will get, and the attendant eventual release of all of this rage will be historic. When I was in college.
So in the end, that's a veiled threat. Like, one day the men are going to explode, and they will, and they are already, but I'm sure that it'll get worse for them, and whatever the case may be, and they won't actually move left the way that they should and try to create programs and get equity and things of that nature. Like, they won't do that. They'll just move more right, move towards fascism. And that's why fascism is on the rise. Fascism is on the rise literally because of that. Like if you want to try to point to 10,000 different things, you can. But the one thing for sure, the reason why fascism is on the rise is because of what Sagar just articulated and what the numbers are saying. Women are going to college. Women are getting their degrees. Women are abstaining from being with men because they don't need to be with us. And they are doing better than us economically, emotionally, socially, whatever, in every single capacity. And working class men have been sold and told a lie by the bourgeoisie that you guys will always have access to wife slaves. And they don't. They don't have access to wife slaves anymore. The bourgeoisie still do. They still have wife slaves. But your broke ass will never get a wife slave. And that is driving the men up the wall. That is what's going on right now.
I'm going to be honest. I don't want to date someone that's below me. I don't. I'm going to be completely honest. And I think that's something that's pushed on Black women a lot, is to date under. And I think we always operate in extremes. It doesn't have to be extreme. Just because I'm not going to date a McDonald's worker doesn't mean that I have to date a CEO. So it doesn't have to be in these very extreme social media, one in a lifetime chances. I just want someone I'm going to be able to learn from. And that can be in any field. So it doesn't have to be someone in corporate. I've dated, people who work in construction that make really good money. I've done trade work. I'm a service provider. I've dated other service providers. They make money as well. So it's all about, what we can do together and what can I learn from my partner and what they can learn from me.
Her message was she doesn't want to date, down, right? She kind of lost me with the whole, I want to learn from him, but that's whatever. I don't know if that's what most women are looking for. She's a woman. She knows better than me, I would assume, but I don't think that's what it is. But when she was talking about dating down, though, to me, what she was talking about was economically, she was talking about from a comprehensive standpoint, not just money, but definitely starting with money. because she talked about the types of jobs that men have and their career fields and so on and so forth. Women are not, they're not settling, right? And when I say that, most women who are with men, if not every single woman, is settling. Almost without a doubt, women have to settle any single time they get with the man. But how much do women want to settle is the question, first and foremost. That's the sad reality of our current circumstances, that women are going to have to settle. If I'm saying if they want to be with the man. But a lot of women are not interested in that game, and they're choosing not to be with any man. And to her point, she's just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to date down. I don't want to have to teach a man how to be a man emotionally, or how to be a person, I should say. But, and as, quote unquote, be a man. I don't want to be with a man that I make significantly more money than, all of these things. Like, I don't want to date down. That's what she's saying. That's what I get from what she's saying. Right. And most women nowadays of a certain generation, they feel the same way. And that shit is driving the men batshit crazy. And this is the reality. This is what's happening. This is what's going down in the relationships when the man isn't able to, hold on to those gender roles that he needs in a relationship to make himself feel whole.
And what's the difference between men and women in terms of spending habits in a relationship, secrecy, avoidance, arguments?
Well, let's start with the roles. Men always describe themselves as providers. Always. That's what we are taught. It exists in culture. The problem is, of course, what happens when they are not the top earner, which is happening increasingly more now. So when I often ask them, who are you financially speaking if you're not a provider? And they're just stumped. But there's got to be something more than simply being a provider. You can be a provider and you can be a nurturer. You can be a provider and you can be a helper, a leader. There's so many different ways. Often what you'll see with...
That's not a provider. That's not the conventional way that we think of providership. So I disagree with that. Like, that's what it means to be a provider. That's not what it means to be a provider. If that is the case, then this whole time we'd have been calling women providers, because that is what women do. So that's not what it means to be a provider. Let's not change the definition of the word. But what he said initially was, when he challenges men to think about what are they when they're not considered to be providers in relationships, and the men eyes glaze over, that's what's happening. Men don't know who we are without the title or without the role of providership. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know who we are as people, because we've never had to develop our character. We've never had to be more than a workhorse for capitalism, right? And sadly, we're not required to have developed this muscle to be in a relationship with a woman. Most women are conditioned to accept men who haven't done any work in these areas, right? It's not that men are the ones who are like capitulating to women. It's women are conditioned to accept men in these shitty conditions. Women are the ones who mold and shape around the men. Men are rigid in these relationships. Men come in like wrecking balls. You know what I mean? Men come in like, we come in like all contorted and, whatever. And women come in like water. Women are like Bruce Lee's famous quote about be like water. Women are like water. Women come in and they just kind of, they fill the gaps and spaces between men and reality, right? They bridge the gap. And a lot of women aren't interested in doing that anymore. And I don't blame them, because who the fuck wants to do that for another grown individual when they're doing that for themselves every single day? Why can't we do it as men? But that is what's going on. Men do not know our roles outside of being providers. We have no idea who the fuck we are. And we're not interested in developing into whole human beings. And it's driving men up the wall. I said it once, I'll say it again. It is men are literally going crazy because of this, because they don't know what to do.
Your friendly neighborhood misandrist here to remind you that in 50 short years of women being allowed to have financial instruments, bank accounts, credit cards, and loans and property in our name. In those 50 short years, women have already surpassed the men in terms of home ownership and property ownership. Whereas men had these things in America from day one. They had rights, they had autonomy, they had legal status and protections, right? And in less than half a fucking century, within living memory of our mothers, aunts, grandmothers, aunts, I already said aunts, but within living memory of our women family members who are very much alive right now, we've already surpassed the men. Combine women's progression with the progression of Black people and people of color here in the United States. Black people were not ascribed rights, protections, citizenship, and voting rights until a short 60 years ago. There are Black people alive today who have living memory of surviving Jim Crow, segregation, and lynching, etc. And in 50 short years, in 50 short years, Black people have surpassed and are surpassing white Americans in home ownership, property ownership, college education, wealth, status, achievements, accomplishments.
That is solely due to Black women. If you remove Black women from that equation, Black men are well way behind, but Black women are carrying us. So I want to make that clear. It is definitely women in every demographic doing this, but the more, in any oppressed group, it's the women that are doing better than the men.
Notoriety, fame, entertainment, academia, etc., etc., etc. in 50 short motherfucking years. So what that tells you is that systems of oppression in America that were based on those two things, patriarchal oppression and white racial oppression, were always based on the lie of white mediocrity and white inferiority. What we were experiencing as minorities, as Black people, and as women was the lie of white patriarchal dominance. It was always based on the ability to subjugate, the ability, to enact and enforce state violence through legislation, through codification, through statutes, and through extrajudicial means such as Jim Crow laws, segregation, and lynching. So now that the lie has been exposed because minorities, Black people, and women have turned that violence back on our various oppressors, they're scrambling. They really don't know what to do, how to survive, how to act in this new society. And quite frankly, those of us who have been oppressed, we're not going back. We're not going back. And we're not going back. We're here to stay. And we will happily, readily, gleefully meet violence with violence if it has to come to that.
Everything she said, 100%. And I just want to acknowledge something really quick. If you are a man, though, listen to when she said that the oppressors are flailing. They don't know what to do. Right? They're scrambling and all of that stuff. If you are a man and you come across this type of content and it triggers you, that is a telltale sign that you are a part of the oppressive class. Because the oppressed don't get triggered by this information. This doesn't trigger me at all. As a Black man, this doesn't trigger me. It does trigger some Black men, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying as a Black man, right, having had been oppressed and my people having had been oppressed, my ancestors having had been oppressed, and I still being a part of an oppressed class of people, extremely oppressed class of people, the most oppressed class of people that ever exists on the planet. When I hear that Black people are getting degrees and things of that nature, doesn't trigger me at all. Furthermore, when I hear Black women are getting degrees, and doesn't bother me at all. I'm very proud. When I hear that, well, I can't say proud, but I'm happy for them. I am, because I didn't do anything to help them do it. I can't take pride in something I had nothing to do with. But and also when I hear of women, right, gaining ground and becoming more successful than men and all of that stuff, I also revel in that. I love it. It's exciting, right? It's a sign of the times. It's a sign that it was always a lie. because like she just pointed out, all those things are connected. So as a black man, when the lie of the white patriarchy, the racist white patriarchal structure is exposed, I rejoice, no matter who is exposing it. White women are doing it, great. Asian women are doing it, great. Asian people doing it, great. Black people doing it, phenomenal. So on and so forth, because these are the groups of people that once upon a time, all of those groups of people, they were saying, oh, they're inferior to the white man. White women, inferior to the white man. Asian men, inferior to the white man. Asian women, inferior to the white man. Black men, inferior to the white man. Black women, inferior to the white man. So to see those groups of people, I don't care even if they're doing better than me, better than the group of people that I identify as or with or whatever, doesn't bother me at all. Doesn't trigger me one bit. It triggers me, but it triggers excitement. It triggers joy, right? I'm over the hill for the progress, because I know that my success is tied to their success. I know that my future is tied to their future, because these are what we're discussing here are human rights, right? But the men who are either a part of the oppressive class or want to be a part of the oppressive class, they want to show their allegiance so that they can gain some type of benefit, or that they can be rewarded with some type of benefit from the ruling class. They get triggered by this. The men who have been indoctrinated, who have been sold a lie for 400 some odd years. If you're a black man for 100 years, right? That you're going to get a wife slave. All you got to do is go to work, have a job. Yeah, who cares if you're ugly? Yeah, who cares if you're Mr. from Color Purple, if you're mean, you know what I mean? If you're abusive, nobody cares about that. Just have a job. And the women will come, because we will set up the system in such a way that they will have to choose one of y'all. And as soon as they remove that, the women took off, and they're skyrocketing, and they're still restricted, by the way. This is all in spite of currently still being oppressed. You see what I'm saying? It's not like women are free. They're not. It's not like women have the same autonomy as men. They don't. They're still doing it in spite of all of that. But they just have just enough. They have just enough. Women are like your mama. Women are like your mama in this regard. When you open up the refrigerator 72 times and you don't see nothing in there, and then you huffing and puffing, and you go in your mama room and you sit next to her, and you oh, you hear that? Oh, that's my stomach growling. Go make you something to eat. Well, there ain't nothing to eat. Boy, there's something to eat down there. There's not. And she walked downstairs, and 30 minutes later, you got a fucking 4-course meal. Somehow, some way. You got some smothered chicken, you got some rice, and you got some veggies, and you got somehow she found a half a pack of Kool-Aid in the back of the drawer, and you got you something cool to drink. I don't know how the fuck she did it, but she did it. That's how women are. You give them a little bit, they multiply it. You give them a little bit, they multiply it. You can also say that about any group of people compared to the oppressive class. If you give the oppressed a little bit, we multiply it, because we're so used to having nothing. Right? The oppressed have to have all the conditions be perfect for them to succeed. The oppressor, they have to have all the conditions perfect for them to succeed. The oppressed just need one thing to go right. Just one thing to go right, and we're good. We're off to the races. Don't let 2 or 3 things go right. Oh my fucking God, we're Obama. You see what I'm saying? That is what's going on right now with men, and men are refusing to listen. That is it in a nutshell. Men are refusing to listen. This is how men are reacting to it. Instead of men telling other men that they need to grow up, that they need to develop into fully functioning human beings, and they need to go get their education, whether it be formal or informal, I don't care, but get educated, learn something. It doesn't have to be a trade, learn a skill, have a passion, but, turn it into some money, you know what I mean? Something like that, make some progress in life. Don't just, rest on your laurels. Instead of men going out here and hammering that message home to other men, right? And then saying, in the midst of that, you should be able to find a woman who you're compatible with. Not you deserve one, not you're gonna find one, not do all of this stuff to earn a woman or to get a woman. No. But along the way, you should be able to find a woman you're compatible with, and you should be able to be in a healthy, functioning, happy relationship, right? You would think that's what men would be telling each other right now. Instead, this is what men are telling each other.
If you're a man, find a woman who does not defend herself. Find one that doesn't want to upset you, that doesn't attack you, one that's meek and soft-spirited. And then you become the best thing that's ever happened to her. You provide, you protect, you're soft with her. You will never have a bad day for the rest of your life, I promise you. But don't fuck that one up. And until you find that girl, stop giving all of your energy and resources and money away to these other women who don't deserve it. You know who they are. Stop trying to prove yourself.
Okay. So, a few things. Men are deathly afraid of women who will challenge them. Men are deathly afraid of women who will stand up for themselves. So he is essentially, to me, the way I interpret this is, because what woman, when they say attack, we know what that means. They just mean challenge a man to stand up for herself. So essentially, you want a doormat, right? You want a cellmate, not a soulmate. And then he tried to clean it up. Oh yeah, make sure you provide and you protect, and like, shut the fuck up. Again, same rhetoric. Where do men get the idea of being the provider from? From other men, from idiots like that. That's where you get it from. Other men like him. They're the ones who are telling men to provide and protect, and you're no more useful than how much money you bring home, and how many guns you own, so you could shoot these fictitious, fucking intruders that are never coming into your home, right? That's what that's what this dude, and this dude couldn't protect any woman from anything, right? Physically, I'm saying. So what the fuck is he talking about protection for? Be quiet. Pipe down. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about being a worthy candidate for a woman. It's not about providership financially. Take care of yourself financially, be able to contribute substantially financially, absolutely, as a man, right? Because she's going to need to rest on you a little bit when the babies come. But also make sure that you are there for her emotionally. Also make sure you're there for yourself emotionally. Also make sure you can communicate properly. There's so many things that go into this that men never discuss. It's really setting men back, and it's holding men back. Remember, women are doing better than men now. Younger women are doing better than men now economically. And women have always been doing better than men emotionally and socially and all of that stuff. The only thing left was economically. Now they're doing better than us economically. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And lastly, you're seeing the responses to women just joshing around, clowning around, whatever you want to say. And then how men are hypersensitive to it now all of a sudden. Now all of a sudden, the same group of people that's been telling women to take a joke, right? Joking about the abuse of women, joking about femicide and things of that nature and the oppression of women for the last 400 or 500, 600, 700, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. We can keep going back, right? 2, 3 millennia. These very same people are now crashing out because women have just turned it around on them.
Men used to go to war. Women used to go to the highest bidder and to jail for talking. Why are we romanticizing the past right now? What are you doing? That's not funny. Okay, neither is me getting turned into Swiss cheese at Normandy Beach. And by the way, when all the men agreed that it was their collective responsibility to protect the women like property, they also thought the women were property. Either we owe each other nothing because we're fundamentally equal, or I owe you my life in battle, and you're gonna not post thirst traps on Instagram, you're not gonna talk back to me, or you're getting a lobotomy. And that's what they did. No guys were going out there fighting Genghis Khan and coming back and being like, you want a no-fault divorce? That's fine.
Yeah, the false equivalencies are wild. But the message that he is spewing is that if a woman makes a joke, by the men used to go to war, right? That quote is a response to men saying stupid shit about women and judging women and being sassy and shit like that and being combative towards women. So it's a gotcha. Men used to go to war because women know that that's fucked up. That men used to go to war and get blown up and shit like that, right? Now, that's the first part of it. That is, again, men used to go to war is a response to women, to men saying harmful things to women. He's crashing out about the response, not about what the men are saying to the women that are causing the women to react in this way, right? Not that. No. We got to focus on the women's reaction. Okay. Because men are so hypersensitive and they can't take, like, they don't have any authority, right, anymore over women. And they do. I'm not saying, but I'm saying like men like him, he knows that he doesn't have any authority over women anymore directly. And he's like, what? You should feel lucky. How dare you clown me for having to go to war? But back in those days, you were a slave. Okay. So that's the first part. And secondly, when women say men used to go to war, I need for you to understand something fundamentally about that joke. Men made other men go to war. Men created wars. Men hoard power. And men made other men, mainly young men, go to war. Women had nothing to do with that. Zero to do with that. The women reacting, right? The thing that the women are reacting to, though, when they say men used to go to war, are things that men do to women. Do you see how it doesn't add up? Because even in this scenario, this is still something that men are responsible for. Men are responsible for all of this. Women just made the joke, but men sent you to war, though. Men killed you in the war. Men started the wars. Men hoarded the power. Women had zero to do with that. So yeah, they can get that joke off all they fucking want to. You should. The only reason you're triggered by that is because it's true, right? It's true. It stung, but also they're not. We don't get me wrong. We shouldn't romanticize the past because the men of that day and age are ass, and I think most women know that. But they're just saying that to get under your skin. They're just saying that to get under your skin, and you prove them right because you got fucking triggered by this, and it's innocuous. It doesn't harm men at all, to be honest with you.